Coming up next, before this band became a household name with 2 number-1 hits, they had 2 minor hits, songs that change everything for them. As you're going to see in this upcoming interview with their lead singer, their breakthrough hit came from him driving his Ford Pinto from his home in the Midwest to LA to make it in the music industry. And as he was driving along, he had a paper bag full of snacks. And this song came to him on the freeway, so he hurried and wrote it down in this brown paper bag. It's become a signature song for this rock band. But then when he met one of his heroes years later, he made a comment, the hero, that he may have ripped off his previous hit. Let's see what the singer says about that one. He talks about it. It's really cool. The story's coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Now, if you long for the days where we used to listen to the album, song by song, as a complete work instead of a shuffled playlist, then this channel was made definitely for you. Just subscribe below right now for our daily content. You never know who we're going to have on the show. That's why it's fun to watch every day. And make sure to check out our new merch, including our brand new Vintage Years collection, where we have the big 4 of a classic year in music. Characters drawn by famous artist Thomas Estrada. Check these out. This is really cool. We also have an exclusive content at our Patreon. Both of these things help us to curate this channel, produce more interviews, more videos. So check that out. So it's time for another edition of our show, Breakthrough, where we break down the singular song, album, or event that kicked open the door to an artist or band's career and, gave them the momentum, momentum to rocket to long-term success. Now, before REO Speedwagon exploded to number 1 on the singles charts with Keep On Lovin' You, and then Can't Fight This Feelin', the band were trying to build some momentum. They had actually languished as a band for years. They'd certainly paid their dues, building an audience through touring, mostly through the Midwest to start out. REO Speedwagon actually came out of an impromptu jam session between Neil Doty and Alan Gratzer in 1966. Band members came and went, but in 1970, a guitarist named Gary Richrath came aboard. With their equipment being hauled to dates in a friend's station wagon, the band frequented bars and clubs, like I said, all over the Midwest. And they released their debut album, REO Speedwagon, on Epic Records. That was in 1971. From the time that Gary Richrath, the great Gary Richrath, came into the band, the lineup remained pretty stable from there, with the exception of lead vocalist over their first 3 albums. Vocalist Terry Luttrell left the band in the first part of 1972. He would go on to sing for the band Star Castle. He was replaced by one Kevin Cronin. Cronin recorded 1 album with the band, REO TWO, but he ended up leaving the band during the sessions for 1973's Riding the Storm Out because of conflicts within the group. Riding the Storm Out was completed with Michael Brian Murphy on lead vocal. A lot of people don't know that. He would stay on with REO for 2 more records, Lost in a Dream and This Time We Mean It. But from there, Kevin Cronin returned. That was in January of 1976 and recorded REO, which was released that same year. This is where REO Speedwagon started to really ignite. In 1977, REO convinced Epic Records that their real power was in their live shows. Epic allowed them to produce their first live album, You Get What You Play For, which would go platinum long-term, and with the road being paved by their great songs, members of the band actually at that time moved out to California. It was really coming true for them. From there, they started to, bubble up as they started to work on their new album that they hoped would take them to higher ground. It's, of course, a memorable album cover and the name. You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. This was the album that really changed everything for this band. It was released in 1978. Over the years, 2 songs from that record have become true classics of classic rock radio. Roll the Changes and Time for Me to Fly. The strength of those two singles really took the album to new heights, as they were REO's first to make the top 40. Very fortunate to sit down with lead singer Kevin Cronin and have a long-ranging conversation about their entire career. He gave me the story behind this classic album and the song's role with the changes. Actually, my favorite, personal favorite REO Speedwagon song, and Time for Me to Fly, another great one. What follows is the breakthrough story of that. And as we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the brand of glasses. I'm wearing them, always wearing. Go take a look at zenni.com, where you can design your own glasses and do a virtual try-on. This is where you can see exactly how the eyewear is going to look on you before you buy. You can make sure it matches your face. You can actually try on different pairs. Really cool. It's Zenni's virtual mirror feature. And while you're at it, you can add cool features like blue blocks, which protect your eyes from digital blue light. It's been really cool for me because I look at computers all the time. Here's a story from Kevin Cronin on these great songs. I want to talk to you about you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. This record, the next record, first top 40 album, 2 times platinum since then. It was your first with Bruce Hall. And it also was the first that you guys co-produced, you and Gary, together. Let's talk about this album for a second, especially Roll With The Changes. That's another classic REO song everybody loves. Tell me how that one came together and this album.
Well, I mean, we finally, decided that we tried a bunch of different producers and the studio albums never sounded right. We had a little power going in because I had written Roll With The Changes and Time for Me to Fly. And, people heard those were the kind of songs. There's just certain songs that the first time people hear them, they just go, yes. And not every song has that kind of power.
Right.
But both of those songs did. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter if you were in the band, at the record company. Every time people heard those songs, they were just like, okay.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. So we kind of had that going. And so Gary and I were like, well, let's call a meeting and sit down with Epic and just tell them, this was our mindset, that if you want these songs on one of your records, then we're producing it or we're walking. That was our mindset.
Right.
We're idiots. But we walked in the meeting and we were pretty ballsy. The big wigs at Epic were there, the president of the record label, Rana Luxembourg, and all the brass, and we're sitting there all cocky and everything. And, to our surprise, they were like, okay. We were like, wait, what? Okay.
I thought there was going to be a fight here.
Yeah. And Gary and I are looking at each other. We're like, now what do we do?
Right.
We don't know how to produce
now
records. What are you talking about? But luckily, Epic had John Boylan on staff. And John Boylan is one of my favorite people in the world. And he kind of was in the studio, rode shotgun in case we needed him. And so we felt pretty safe going in there and producing that record.
So Roll With The Changes, how did that come about?
It was kind of I remember sitting in Studio B at the old record plant on 3rd Avenue, the iconic record plant, and sitting at the piano, and I started doing this. Let's see. Just playing that riff. And it kind of just one of those things that just happened. And I was like, oh, this is kind of, whatever that was, and that's where most songs kind of start from some little thing, and then it either elicits more or it just lays there. And that one kind of stuck with me. And a little later, I was literally moving from Chicago out to LA because the band had moved while I was out of the group. And so it was like, well, I guess if I want to be in the band, if I'm going to stay with them, I got to move to LA, which I didn't really want to do because I love Chicago. But I decided, all right, if I'm going to move there, I'm not going to do it on an airplane. I want to feel the earth move under my feet, so to speak. So I drove an old blue Pinto station wagon with a Ford Pinto with a U-Haul trailer in the back from Chicago to LA. And somewhere around Albuquerque, that piano riff came into my head, and I started just having this idea. And the only thing I had was this brown paper bag with some munchies in it that I'd gotten at a truck stop. So I'm literally driving down the freeway with a U-Haul trailer behind me and kind of jotting the words down on this paper bag, you know, because I was literally rolling with the changes. Years later, when I became friendly with Stephen Stills, he deep down believes that I copped that from Love the One You're With.
Love the one you're with. Love the one you're with.
I can't confirm, I didn't do it consciously. Love the One You're With is one of my favorite songs ever. And if I'm honest, that organ riff at the beginning in the solo roll to changes sounds a little like Love the One You're With. So, I didn't mean to do it, but it kind of happened that way.
I believe it's time for me to fly.
Time for Me to Fly it's my wife's favorite REO song. She's always playing it. I love the song too. Tell me about where that one came from, because that's like when a girl's broken your heart, that kind of thing. Listen to that, turn it up to 11 after going through one of those first heartbreaks, and it's one of those songs just belting out. Where did that one come from?
That's exactly what you're saying. But it was my first heartbreak. It was my first girlfriend. I just had to get away from Chicago. So a friend of mine said he was driving out to Boulder, and I'd never been to Colorado. I'm like, okay, let's go. And we got to this friend of mine's house, and he had he was a guitar player, one of the few guitar players that I knew from high school. And there was a guitar sitting on his porch, and I picked it up and I went to play it, and I hit a chord and it sounded hideous. And the guitar was so out of tune. And I just started messing around with it, and I realized he had it in an open tuning, which I didn't even know what an open tuning was. So I started messing around with it, and I remembered Richie Havens in Woodstock when he played Freedom, and he was playing with his thumb wrapped around the top of the guitar neck. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try that.
Freedom, freedom.
And so I did. That's where the original riff from Time for Me to Fly came from. And it was my first breakup. So, yeah.
Dolly Parton, you must have loved that version, man.
You heard that version?
Oh, yeah.
Time for me to fly. Gotta set myself free.
That version blew my mind, man. When I first heard it, I literally thought that because it basically sounds like, in a way, the REO version, you put it on the turntable and someone, instead of having it on 33 RPM, was 45 RPM. Because it just was like, I've been around for you, been up and down for you, and I just can't get in, really.
I've been around for you, been up and down for you.
It was great. And as a songwriter, I will tell you, there's no greater compliment. Well, when you start the opening chords of a song, and Time for Me to Fly, I will say, is one of those songs that in concert, when I play those first chords,
They know.
People just,
We know.
like, you can just feel this. It's a weird thing, man. It's just this energy, the energy in the room. It's one of the greatest feelings there is. It's part of why I still do what I do, to play live, because I get to have that feeling every night, and then, it's my job to share it and give it back.
I believe it's time for me to fly.
Do you remember the first time you heard your song on the radio?
You know what? I wish I could say that. I wish I had that memory.
That thing you do moment?
Yeah, I know. I don't remember that, honestly. But to this day, when I hear one of our songs on the radio, it's something that I've never gotten blasé about. If I'm driving down the freeway, one of our songs comes on the radio, I can't help but look around at the other cars in the freeway and kind of, it's that same campfire thing. You know, I'll bet you some of these other cars are hearing this too, and we're experiencing this together, which is why
awesome.
that's why I love radio, because it brings people together, and it's, yeah, hearing your own song on the radio, it's, I mean, I've had moments where I remember one time when Roll with the Changes came on the radio. I was driving down Ventura Boulevard, and I can't remember exactly, I think it was right around when my first marriage was kind of starting to hemorrhage a little bit,
Yeah.
and I was pretty vulnerable, my emotions were pretty raw. And that song came on the radio, and I lost it, man. I was driving along, hoping nobody was noticing me, but that's the beauty of music. It can force you to feel something that you need to feel.
That's just how it's got to be.
That's why it's so important, especially today in this divisive world that we live in. When a certain song comes on, and you've written quite a few of those songs, it doesn't matter about race, religion, politics, any of that stuff. All that stuff goes out the window. It's about, like, Keep On Loving You. Everybody's singing that exact same song, and they're all connected.
Yeah.
It's so important. That's what we just cannot lose that. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment below about this great time in REO Speedwagon's career as they were climbing to the top. What are your memories of these songs and your picks for the best REO songs ever? Tell us in the comment section below. Share your memories. Always love to see that. And don't forget to check out our 1984 Vintage Years Collection merch, also 1971 and 1987, all dedicated to the greatest years in popular music history. If you like our content, we invite you to be a permanent part of our channel by subscribing below right now. And make sure to check us out on Patreon for even more content. Help us keep the music alive. Very important. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.